In this second video, we'll be working on transformations. We'll be working with reflections of a function. So the first video was shifting up and down, right and left. This one will be working with reflections. The two types of reflections that we'll be doing are those that flip across the x-axis. That would be a horizontal reflection. So if it flips across the x-axis, it's a horizontal reflection. Or those that flip along the y-axis or reflect along the y-axis, which is a vertical reflection across the vertical line. So we're going to take a look at this function. The standard function is going to be the square root of x. Now I picked this one because it has just one piece to the right, as if you take a look back at your the first two videos on elementary graphs. We did graph the square root function. So in graphing that function, it started at 0 right here, 0, 0. Square root of 1 is 1, square root of 2 is 1.4, square root of 3 is 1.7, square root of 4 is 2, square root of 5 is close to 2.1. So when we're looking at this graph, it would travel in a direction starting at 0 going to the right here, like this, and travel upward to the right. So it has one little piece to the right, so it makes it easy if we want to reflect on an axis. We would flip over this line of reflection, the x-axis or the y-axis. Now, the two types of reflections here are where we place a negative sign in the function. So if we place a negative sign outside the function, if we write it as y equals, or f of x, y equals negative square root of x, then that's going to reflect along the x-axis. So every y value that we put in, every x value we put in is going to give us the opposite y value. Up here, if we put 1 in, we get 1. But in this case, if we put 1 in, we're going to get negative 1. So it's going to be reflected across this line. 0 is not going to reflect. We're going to get 1.4 here, negative, 1.7 negative, negative 2, and so on and so forth. So it's going to reflect and go this way across on the x-axis. It's reflected along this line. That's if we place the negative sign on the outside of the function. So we can test that out on our graphing calculator. Just let's see what it tells us, see if it looks the same as we plug in here. Let's give it a minute, it has to think. Alright, so y equals, we're going to do the square root of x and make sure I verify that I have the same graph. It travels to the right, looks similar to the blue graph. Now we're going to use the second y2, and we're going to put in opposite or negative square root of x, and we're going to take a look at that function as well. And if you graph that, it looks like it reflects along the x-axis. So anything outside the function is going to reflect along the x-axis. Now the other reflection we're going to be dealing with is if we put the negative inside. So if we write it so it's y equals the square root of negative x, we'll put the negative x inside. I'm struggling with my computer here. Negative x inside the square root, so it's under the square root symbol, then it's going to reflect along the y-axis, because we can no longer put a positive 1 in. If we put a positive 1, that's going to change to negative, and we can't take the square root. So on this type of graph, we're going to have to put in the opposite values. We can't put the positive x values in. We're going to have to change the domain and put in a negative value. So it's going to go here, negative 1 is going to go there, negative 2, is going to give you a positive 1.4. So you're going to get positive 1.7 here, positive 2. So it's going to travel upward like this, traveling to the right here. And we'll try to do a little bit better on the graph here. Okay, we're struggling here with the graph. So let's take a look at the graphing calculator and make sure that that verifies what I've just put in there. So we're going to put the square root of negative x. Graph. So as you can see, it reflects along this axis, the y-axis. So the two reflections that you're going to have are a horizontal reflection along the x-axis. That happens when you put the negative on the outside of the function. And when you put it on the inside of the function, it's going to reflect on the y-axis, or a vertical reflection.